Our mind is a restless bird. The more it gets, the more it wants, and still remains unsatisfied, says Mahatma Gandhi. Once a disciple of Lord Buddha asked, "What make us instantly unhappy?" Buddha said, "Comparing ourselves with someone else. When we compare ourselves with successful people of our age, we can't help but feel foolish and incompetent. Today, social media can seem full of people who are enjoying their life more than you. You can be walking down the street, see a group of strangers having fun, and immediately feel lonely. We always think the grass is greener next door, but the grass itself doesn't care. It's the person who owns that grass who's concerned about it. Sometimes we even use chemicals to dye the grass green so it matches the neighbor's lawn. But at some point, that grass is going to turn brown, its natural beauty destroyed because of needless comparison. According to Buddhism, the problem is that we can't help comparing ourselves with others, and there's no end to these comparisons. Let's say there's a guy who works at a tech startup. He'll see a very skilled senior member of the company and compare himself with her. In turn, that woman might be comparing herself with the CEO who started the company, and that CEO will be comparing herself with Elon Musk. So, who does Elon Musk compare himself with? Maybe it's the younger version of himself, or a soon-to-be famous young entrepreneur. That is why Buddha says, once you start comparing yourself with others, you're always going to find someone who's better than you. No matter how rich you might be, how handsome, or how beautiful, there's always going to be another person who's richer or more beautiful. Even if you rise to the top in a certain field, you'll always find ways to compare yourself with people in other fields. Buddha says to his disciple, "Now that I have parted with my possessions, I no longer compare myself with anyone. If anyone who can truly be called the first minimalist, then it ought to be Lord Buddha. Prince Siddhartha has been able to say goodbye to that old life that was full of possessions, and because he had stopped taking part in that rat race of never-ending comparison and accumulation, he was able to achieve the ultimate bliss state called nirvana, and later on became the Buddha. A table, a chair, a bowl of fruit, and a violin. What else does a man need to be happy?" Says Albert Einstein. According to the philosophy of minimalism, happiness continues for longer periods if it's based on experiences rather than objects. Let's take an example of $1,000 handbag. It will lose its novelty as you continue to wear it, but if you had spent the money on a trip with a friend, you can relive that joy every time you remember that trip, and the joy doesn't fade when you revisit it. So the question is, why do we tend to spend money on things instead of experiences? It goes back to our need to compare ourselves with others. Psychologist Sonia Lyubomirsky points out that it's easy to compare our handbag with other people's handbags, since the price tag makes the value of a bag obvious. And if it's a designer bag, then it's even easier to compare, because everyone is immediately aware of its value. On the other hand, a considerable amount of imagination is necessary if we want to compare your yoga class to someone else's game of golf, or our fishing trip to another person's camping expedition. Perhaps that's why experiences give you longer periods of happiness. That's why you'll feel a much richer sense of contentment by building your experiences rather than buying items, because our experiences have ability to resist comparison with others. And because they are tough to compare, your experiences don't even have to be anything rare or expensive to be special to you. Minimalism says, just like our accumulation of material objects, once we start comparing ourselves with others, it will be endless. Minimalist writer Fumio Sasaki wrote in his book Goodbye Things, "Let's face it, there will always be people who are better than we are. If we start comparing ourselves with those people, agonizing over how we think we're nothing compared with them, we'll be completely paralyzed." He added, "But when you say goodbye to all your unnecessary things, you also say goodbye to the process of comparing yourself with other people, because you no longer have any of those material objects that are used to compare your status with others. And once you are a minimalist who only has what you need, your focus will inevitably shift from others to yourself. Freed from comparing, you'll start to discover who you truly are." And this what exactly happened to Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. Steve Jobs had his black turtleneck, and Mark Zuckerberg has his gray t-shirt. They both agreed that it's a waste of time selecting which clothes you want to wear, as it can lead to comparison and unnecessary accumulation. Therefore, they would rather spend that time doing something creative. One of the hidden gems of minimalism is that minimalists are the risk taker. Let's say, if you want to keep up the standard of living that you've built over the years and not let go of the items that you've accumulated, you have to preserve the status quo, and that means no changes and no risks. Whether or not you love your job, you have to keep it to maintain your quality of life and to hang on to all your possessions. It's often said that you have to endure your job to put food on the table or enjoy the nicer things in life. But wait, most of those nicer things and the money we need for them are just for show. We're driven by pride rather than need. Whereas minimalism says have less, be free, and you'll be able to go anywhere, whenever you want. You won't be worried about how others see you, so you'll be able to take on new challenges without being afraid of failure. Your minimum living costs will decrease when you part with your possessions, which means you'll have more freedom to choose your jobs. Whether it's Lord Buddha, Greek philosopher Diogenes, Mother Teresa, or Steve Jobs. Seriously, these minimalists have no possessions that they were scared to lose, and that is what gave them the optimism and courage to take risks. The guiding principle of minimalism says, the only way to focus on the important things is to reduce the things that aren't important. Minimalist Fumio Sasaki explained in his book Goodbye Things how the soccer star Lionel Messi is one example of someone who fully grasps this principle. Messi, who plays for FC Barcelona and will probably go down in history as one of the sport's best players, is known for running short distances in his matches. While professional soccer players in general run about 10 kilometers per match on average, Messi's average is 8 kilometers. In fact, you often see him walking on the field during a match. There's also data that indicate that he not only jogs instead of running to get back into a defensive position, he doesn't often make an all-out effort to run on offense either. Fumio Sasaki believes Messi's minimalist style is why he is the top player in the world. He has a clear picture of the crucial moments when he needs to go full force to surpass his opponents. To him, scoring is his top priority. Therefore, he's reduced everything else to save his energy and focus on what's truly important, those crucial opportunities to score. At last, Aristotle's method can be used to become an ultimate minimalist. Aristotle believed that we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Thus, all you need to do is to discard unnecessary things and possessions. And once it becomes a habit, you'll be able to clearly focus on your priority without a second thought. That's all for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more empowering content. Thanks for watching.